Hello and welcome. I am Dr. Lisa Holliday LaBeouf with the Louisiana Department of Education Literacy Division, and I will be your guide through these training modules that meet requirements outlined in Bulletin 996 on instructional literacy implementation and practices. The purpose of this course is to meet certain requirements outlined in BESI Policy, Bulletin 996, in accordance with Act 438 of the 2021 Louisiana Legislative Session. Specifically, these modules address the following areas for teacher candidates in grades kindergarten through 3rd. How to implement effective literacy instruction using high-quality instructional materials, how to administer literacy assessments to students and use the resulting data to improve literacy instruction for students, and how to differentiate instruction for teaching students with advanced literacy skills and students with significant literacy deficiencies, including dyslexia. In this course, we will begin by discussing what materials implementation means and what it looks like, then go into how to effectively use data to inform instructional decisions. We will also share ways to differentiate for various types of learners. This course will conclude with a certificate of completion that can be downloaded, completed, and turned into school administration should credit be required. Contact information will be provided in case there are any lingering questions or additional requests. Let's start by talking about materials implementation for literacy instruction. In this module, we will focus on defining and using high-quality instructional materials and how to implement effective literacy instructional practices. Instructional materials are one of the most important tools educators use in the classroom to enhance student learning. Because instructional materials can include anything used to provide instruction to a student, it is critical that materials fully align to state standards, which define what students are expected to learn and be able to do at the end of each grade level or course, and that those materials are high quality in order to provide meaningful instructional support. Instructional materials can include, but are not limited to, teacher and student materials, activities within lessons, intervention programs and resources, and any supplemental programs or resources used to enhance instruction. High-quality instructional materials are aligned to rigorous standards that set students up for success in college or career pathways. Not all students learn the same way or need the same resources to learn effectively. So providing teachers with the instructional tools that address individual student needs and close opportunity gaps promotes high expectations and equity. Louisiana has a rigorous process for reviewing instructional materials, so their definition of high-quality materials is thorough and standards-based. Louisiana defines high-quality instructional materials are fully aligned to state content standards, what children are expected to learn and be able to do at the end of each age, grade level, or course, and build content-specific knowledge and skills. They provide supports and resources for all learners and ensure that teachers have the resources to provide meaningful instruction every day, including effective lesson structures and strategies, appropriate pacing guidance, meaningful connected assessments, and implementation guidance and resources. When we talk specifically about literacy instruction that is deeply effective and meaningful for student learning, it includes systematic, explicit instruction in the 5 components of literacy, which are phonological and phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. We hear those words, systematic and explicit, used a lot when talking about literacy instruction, so let's be sure we understand exactly what they mean. Systematic means there is a clear, logical plan. Lessons are sequenced and build upon one another. Explicit means direct and structured and can involve multiple practices and methods to ensure students master skills. To be an effective, comprehensive literacy program, It should also include spelling, which should be aligned with the taught phonemic awareness and phonics skills, grammar, and writing. Ideally, all components should be taught with sequenced, aligned skills. Some key takeaways from this module on implementing high-quality instructional materials and providing effective literacy instruction are: instructional materials can include anything used to provide instruction to students. High-quality instructional materials should be used to meet students' standards and the needs of all students. Effective literacy instruction must include all 5 components of literacy, and including grammar, spelling, and writing, tie it all together through application. In the next module, we will discuss how to use literacy data to inform instructional decisions and effectively implement high-quality instructional materials. This module will cover the administration and analysis of literacy assessment data and how to use that data to inform instructional decisions. Let's start by clearly defining what literacy data is. Literacy data can come from several sources, including universal screeners, diagnostic assessments, and progress monitoring. It can also come from classroom grades as well as summative and formative performance data. We will take a look at each of these types of data more deeply on the next slides. A universal literacy screener is called universal because it is given to all students. This should be done at the beginning of the school year to develop baseline data for all students. It is also recommended that all students are screened at the middle and end of the school year to track progress and determine if any needs have changed. Universal literacy screeners provide scores for individual components and an overall composite score. The individual components may change throughout the school year, so it can be helpful to screen throughout the year to ensure gaps do not develop or go unaddressed. A diagnostic assessment can further assess and diagnose areas of specific weakness. A diagnostic screener, like medicine from a doctor's visit, can help teachers treat the right symptoms for students to improve. Not all students will need a diagnostic screener. Using the component scores from the universal screener, teachers and administrators can determine which students need to be screened further and should start their screening in their areas of need. Progress monitoring is an integral part of the screening and intervention processes. Progress monitoring can be done periodically, such as monthly, every 3 weeks, or another frequency determined by the teacher, interventionist, coach, or administrator, to track student progress on targeted skills. This screener is usually the same as or aligned with the universal screener. A comprehensive screening does not need to be completed in order to progress monitor. This can be overwhelming for the teacher and the student. Just progress monitor those specific skills where students are receiving targeted instruction and interventions to see if they have mastered the skills yet. If they have, they can return to regular instruction or receive additional targeted interventions in another area of need. If they have not yet mastered the skill, interventions should continue. Most literacy screeners or assessments produce an overall or composite score. That score can provide a summary of results, but it should not be used solely to determine a student's reading ability. Looking at the individual component scores can provide more insight into a student's reading ability. Use diagnostic assessments to drill down and find out where exactly students need targeted support in the form of additional instruction, extra turns, interventions, or other evidence-based methods. Again, progress monitoring is the key to tracking student progress and maintaining customized approaches to address individual student needs. When making instructional decisions based on the literacy data that has been collected and analyzed, It is important to follow through that process by providing instruction and interventions that address targeted skills and areas of weakness. This can be done during regular instructional time by pulling small groups while other students work on independent practice activities. Think about it. If a student is struggling to read and cannot apply the skills being taught during phonics or reading lessons, they probably will not be able to successfully complete the associated workbook page. So instead of having them struggle through a task, use that time to provide one-on-one or small group instruction by reteaching skills. If your school has scheduled intervention time, be sure to communicate with the coach or reading specialist or interventionist who may be scheduling and providing interventions to ensure individual student needs are being met. Through progress monitoring and observation, instruction and interventions should be adjusted as needed to meet the changing needs of students. Some key takeaways from this module on using data to inform instruction are: there are different types of literacy screeners used different ways. Universal screeners are for everyone to determine baseline data. Diagnostic screeners dig deeper into individual skills to determine intervention needs and are not for everyone. Progress monitoring is an important process to see how students are progressing. Targeted instruction and interventions are key to improving student outcomes. This module will focus on ways to differentiate literacy instruction for various types of learners. In this module, we will talk about students with advanced literacy skills, students who struggle with reading, and students who may have dyslexia. There are ways to customize instruction for all students in a classroom. Let's start by defining what differentiation means. Differentiation is a way to customize learning experiences for students based on their individual needs. Because it is an individual approach, it supports equitable teaching and learning practices. Differentiation can be provided to all types of learners, and we will take a look at these categories of learners. Equity is a huge piece of differentiated practices. Being equitable means giving each individual student the access and materials they need. This can look different for each student based on their needs. If a lesson or activity is being adjusted for the whole class, that is not equity, that is equality. Equity is when adjustments or access is provided for students on an individual basis. Students with advanced literacy skills are often overlooked in a classroom setting because they are already performing strongly with reading skills. However, those students need differentiated instruction as well to support their continued learning and growth as readers and thinkers. So how do teachers identify which students have advanced literacy skills? Start with that universal screener. Students who are advanced readers typically have high overall composite scores and high scores in each component. Most universal screeners provide cutoff score guidance that define what scores constitute benchmark or above benchmark status. Students who are advanced readers may also perform exceptionally well on assignments or other assessments. However, they may also appear bored or disengaged because they do not feel they are being challenged or pushed to improve their own skills. There are a variety of ways to differentiate learning for students with advanced literacy skills. Plan ahead to provide challenging activities for students. Many curriculum have activities and resources readily available within their various guides, workbooks, and other resources. Start with a high level of difficulty and adjust as needed to provide appropriate challenges for advanced readers. These students could also serve as peer mentors for fellow classmates. Students could be grouped or paired together in a variety of ways. Advanced students could be partners with students with reading levels different than their own to provide support and guidance. They could also be partnered with students with similar levels to encourage growth and development. Be mindful of personality matches and the need to change groups periodically to avoid frustration, boredom, or disengagement. Providing options for advanced students to choose from can promote independence and student choice. This can be in the form of a menu of activities in print or digitally, and should include activities or books that incorporate student interests. Readers who struggle with literacy skills can do so for a variety of reasons. Some students may not have much experience or access to books and reading experiences, so their ability to learn to read and comprehend could suffer. Students may also have difficulties with their speech and language development, including English language learners, or they may have visual or hearing impairments that deter their ability to learn to read. Many students who struggle to read have poorly developed decoding or phonological awareness skills. This can present additional challenges when needs are not addressed early on. Dyslexic students, which is a specific type of struggling reader, will be discussed in more depth in the coming slides. Identifying struggling readers follows a similar process to how advanced readers would be identified. Always start with the literacy data, which includes the universal screener and diagnostic assessments. Again, focus on those component scores rather than just the overall composite on the universal screener. Diagnostic assessments should scale down to target specific skill needs. Students who struggle to read often perform poorly on independent reading tasks, classroom assignments, and reading assessments. Because they get frustrated over struggling, they often appear disengaged with tasks and may not actively participate. Another thing to watch for is students who have developed strong coping skills and are able to quickly mimic or echo participation from other students. That can increase the difficulty of noticing struggling readers in the classroom setting and emphasizes the importance of using literacy data to help inform instructional decisions. Struggling readers need additional instruction, support, and intervention activities that are targeted, systematic, and explicit. Regular progress monitoring ensures that adjustments are made as needed to continually improve student abilities. Keeping groups flexible means that students may enter or leave a small group based on their specific needs and progress monitoring results. Students who struggle to read because of dyslexia require similar additional instruction and practice as struggling readers. Louisiana has a specific definition of dyslexia, which reads, an unexpected difficulty in reading for an individual who has the intelligence to be a much better reader, most commonly caused by a difficulty in phonological processing, which affects the ability of an individual to speak, read, and spell. Noting that phonological processing is the appreciation of the individual sounds of spoken and written language. Louisiana also provides educators with a policy, Bulletin 1903, that defines how and when to screen for dyslexia and what types of supports to provide. When determining the best approach for students with dyslexia, it is important to include various types of data to get a complete picture of the student's ability and background, and to include all educators who regularly interact with the student to gather as much information as possible. Students with dyslexia also need targeted instruction and interventions in a structured literacy program. Multisensory practices are helpful for dyslexic students as well as other types of learners. Classroom accommodations can be provided based on determinations made by the SBLC to support dyslexic students. It is important here to note that an accommodation does not take the place of regular instruction. It allows an additional way for students with dyslexia to connect with learning and acquire skills. Providing accommodations can level the playing field for those struggling readers. Some key takeaways from this module on differentiation are: differentiation includes customized instructional strategies for advanced and struggling readers. Equity means giving students what they need individually to be successful. Screeners, classroom task observations, and behavioral observations can help identify students who may need more support. To signify your completion of this course, you may print and complete this certificate. Check with your school administrator to see if they would like a copy as proof of your completion. Thank you for attending this course. We hope you gained some useful information and strategies to help you support students who suffer from reading struggles. Please reach out to Louisiana Literacy at la.gov if you have any follow-up questions.